So Scott, good question. What defense will we run next year? Our current personnel. I think we've got a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. The one thing that you can say about Alex Grinch and even Roy Manning and the defensive staff and Riley to that extent is they've been able to recruit really well over the last couple of years. So I think the talent is there. It's really just getting them from a body perspective to be the right way. I think the one thing that you can count on is that Venables' defense is going to be incredibly aggressive. They're not going to do a lot of what you saw out of Grinch, and they're not going to do a lot of just sitting back and letting these teams either run the ball or do what they're good at, right? I mean, you're going to see a lot of blitzing. You're going to see a lot of pressure on the quarterback. You're going to see a much more fundamentally sound defense in terms of open field tackling, um, and things like that. So I think everybody's going to be proud of what the defense is going to show next year. It may not necessarily immediately be a top 25, top 30 defense, but I would be shocked if this team isn't much, much better on the defensive side of the ball next year. Jay, and I think very good point. I think Eric Gray, he's not a terrible runner. He ran the ball pretty well, probably his best game as a Sooner running the football tonight. His longest longest yard or his longest carry tonight came. I think he had like 50 yards. Excuse me, guys. 50 or 60-yard carry on there in the third quarter. So yeah, um, I think he uh, can run the ball, but I think it could be interesting if they move him around a little bit, let him play running back, and then let him play in the slot a little bit more. I think Oklahoma will certainly have the ability to have more options. I think Oklahoma was hamstrung a little bit early on with just having Eric Gray and Kennedy Brooks, and not wanting to get either of those two kids injured as well. Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Love the leadership that he has as a true freshman, and it's only going to get better. I agree with everything that you're saying here. That was one of the things that initially kind of sparked my eye with him, and just what he was able to do. Um, from that leadership perspective, you could see that he clearly won over the team. Had heard some things earlier on in the year, just in terms of he may have been a kid that a lot of people thought it was going to be hard to keep him off the field day one. He was that good early on, but I think you'll see a lot of maturation from him here in the offseason. Not a big fan of Andre Ware, but he even talked about that a little bit on the broadcast um, tonight, just in terms of just what his maturation will be able to do to see the field a little bit better, watch routes develop a little bit more, quick reads, finding that open receiver a little bit faster, going through the progression a little bit quicker. So I think you'll see, I think you'll see that a little bit accentuated here next year as well. Um, so thanks. Martin, man, thanks for coming in late tonight. I appreciate you guys. Hey, we've got like 90 on the broadcast right now, so you guys share, hit the like button, tell your friends and um, friends, family, coworkers, whoever, to come jump on here. Especially if you're off work and you don't have to do anything tomorrow. Sleep in. I don't think the first game's until like 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So sleep in and come join us, and let's talk about this. So, what am I hearing from the D line and the DB coach? So I think from a D line perspective, for everything that I'm hearing, I think it's really down to two guys. I think you've got Todd Bates, who's the current defensive line coach at Clemson. I think he's a guy that has already received a call. If not, gets a very, very strong look. But the other guy is Trey Scott, who is the defensive line coach at Georgia. I think both of those guys would be great fits for Oklahoma. I like Personally, I like Todd Bates a little bit better. Martin, the reason why I like Todd a little bit better, he's an absolutely dynamic recruiter. A couple of years ago, he was voted as the recruiter of the year in all of college football. Great coach that knows Venables really well, has been with Venables for quite some time. I like him. But Trey Scott, comes from, it coached at Georgia, has a good pedigree there as well. So I think it's down to those two. I would probably lean slightly towards Bates in terms of who I would like the most or who I, kind of hope, gets the job. From a secondary DB coach, I think there's three guys that Oklahoma's looking at. All of them are involved in the playoffs right now. So you've got Jamil Ade, who is the DB coach at Georgia. You've got Jay Valai, who is the DB coach at Alabama, and you've got Steve Clinkscale, I'm sorry, who's the DB coach at Michigan. All three would be great. I think Valai is the best. I think he's the best guy that he comes with a pretty high price tag. Really great recruiter, knows the area well, knows the Texas area well. Obviously, he's the DB coach at Alabama right now, so great. Comes from a great program, but knows the area, is familiar with Venables as well. So he's probably the guy that I would say would be the leader in the clubhouse, just based on just based on what he knows, just based on where he's at, his familiarity with the area, and things like that. So I like Bates and Valai are my two leaders, but at this point, who knows? Wouldn't be surprised. I definitely didn't see. The defensive coordinator, which is really Ted Roof in name only, being that guy, but yeah, I think those are the five guys that I think. Of course, I say this, Martin, and there'll be somebody outside of those five that I'm not thinking through. But those are the five names that I continuously have heard on the defensive line and then the defensive back side as well.